Okay, Bruchim Abayim. Bruchim Abayim. Everyone here in Yerushalayim, Yer HaKodesh, and people watching all over the world. Welcome right before getting ready for Rosh Chodesh Adar Bet. The Rav will be here in a few minutes. As usual, we have announcements. And in fact, this time we have a lot of very, very important announcements, especially for people in the greater New York area and the greater Toronto area. And for that, with the most up-to-date, recent additions and clarifications of where the Rav will be, in another 2 weeks he'll be in New York, and 3 weeks he'll be in Toronto. And so I'm going to ask Rabbi Moshe Ganut to come and give all the details of this very, very important trip.
Okay, so as Rabbi Trugman said, Rabbi Ginsburgh is going to be in New York from March 17th to March 21st. Those are planned events. March 21st is actually Thursday, and then he'll be there Friday and Sunday. So we're not saying anything about those dates yet. There might still be some news about them. So we'll only cover what's already planned. He arrives at Sunday evening, actually Sunday afternoon in New York, and there's an event in Manhattan. It's a private event, and this event is it's focusing on people who can help the Rav with his work in publishing Torah. So we're looking for people who will come to the private event and support generously. So it's by private invitation. We can't give it out. It's a really small group. It'll be up to 20 people. Depending on the Rav's energy, at the end of the day, there will also be private meetings. So if you want to get more information about that meeting, about that private affair, it's quite long actually. It's also catered. It's supposed to start around 7:30 p.m. Sunday, March 17th in Manhattan. And if you want more information, you can contact us by any of the ways that you know how to contact us, or at ve'abita@gmail.com. Monday, March 18th, is a big event in Crown Heights, and it'll be at 8 p.m. at All Torah, 667 Eastern Parkway. All this information is also available on the Facebook page and on the Patreon page and on the Ve'abita, which I hope that everybody receives one way or another every week. So Monday, March 18th, is a big event in Crown Heights. It'll be an open lecture on the power of the Torah to mend a broken world. Wednesday, March 20th, is a post-Megillah reading for Brengen in Woodmere, New York, part of the 5 towns. And it'll be at the Daphne home, 35 Willow Drive. If you need more information about that, please also contact us. Thursday, March 21st, will be the Purim Seudah. So we're not telling you exactly where it is, but if you know anything about Crown Heights, you probably can guess where it will be. But even if you don't, so it'll be probably open to anybody who wants to come. We just want people to confirm before so that it doesn't become 300 people in a house that can only fit, 200, something like that. So again, contact us, and the Seudah will be for anybody basically who was in Crown Heights at the time and who wants to come in. And usually that's one of the highlights of the year, is the Rav's for Brengen during the Seudah, and not to be missed if you're there. So Friday and Sunday we're not discussing yet. Monday, March 25th, he'll be in Toronto. And there will be 3 events in Toronto. The first one all 3 will be at 7:30 p.m. And instead of me going through them one by one, and not to waste precious time, so I'm just referring you to the Facebook page. If you're in Toronto and you would like to meet the Rav, please be in contact with us privately through the email or through the Facebook page, and we'll try to get back to everybody and set up as many private meetings as are feasible in the time that he's there. So I'm transferring the mic back to Rabbi Trugman, and there's a lot of new books again.
Again, everyone in greater New York area and Toronto, please take advantage of this very, very unique opportunity. I myself have been with the Rav for probably 25 years, Purim night, and I have no idea what I'm going to do this year. I have absolutely... Right, I actually come. Right. I'm really trying to figure it out. So take advantage. Okay, we still have a bunch of announcements. Please bear with us. We want to dedicate this shiur to an Aliyat Neshama, to Alta Necha Bat Chaim Nota. She should have an Aliyat Neshama. And a friend of ours, a very, very sweet Neshama, passed away this Shabbos in New York. She should also have an Aliyat Neshama. Rafael Michael Yitzchak Ben Fega should have an Aliyat Neshama. Very, very important. We have to make these announcements in the beginning and the end because people come late, some people leave early. So the next shiur, this is for the people here, will be April 7th, but it will not be here. I'm telling you right now, everyone listen, it will not be here. The place is unknown at this place. There will be a live broadcast for all of you in Chutz La'aretz, first Sunday of April, Bet Nisan, but it will not be here. So you have, when you get your announcement for the shiur, make sure to notice where it will be. Okay? Now, very, very quickly, for the last 1 or 2 shiurim, we've been announcing the 3 new books on science and Torah. The Breath of Life, this one. 137, The Riddle of Creation. And Wisdom, Integrating Torah and Science. These books were really decades in formation and coming, so they're available now. Everyone should really, really take advantage of them. Really worth it. Here's another book that has not been available. Many people don't know about this book. It is a gem. It's called Wandering Jew. Play on words. Wandering Jew. And it's, I believe, from the Rav's Twitter account, where they gathered up all these incredible little gems of wisdom all in one book. And it has, by subject, it's just a great book for a Devar Torah. You need a quick Devar Torah? Here it is. It's Wandering Jew. It's now available on the website as all the other ones. And it is not too early to let everyone know about the Rav's Haggadah. Sodot Mina Seder. This is an amazing, amazing perush on the Haggadah. You really can't do without it. Everyone should really take advantage and get this book. And one last thing, with the Rav's permission, you'll see on the tables I put out a book that I put together that has the Rav's bracha. And in the spirit of Mishloach Manot, it's free, everyone take. You can take more than one if you want. There's some more on the back tables for friends, family. And what it is, basically, is just an attempt to take ideas and concepts of Kabbalah and Chassidut and present them in a very creative way, through poetry, through art, through what I call thought constructs and meditations. Everyone is welcome to take, and hopefully will inspire everyone here to do the same.
Last time we began talking about time, the secret of time. One of the concepts that we contemplated was that the time and life and wisdom are interrelated, and actually we tried to propose an idea that time itself generates or creates life, and thereafter life generates or creates a wisdom. This is one of the three actual introductory concepts that we presented last time. We didn't take what was an obvious allusion, what those three words equal together. So we'll begin this time with that remez, that allusion, and try to understand what it means. If we combine the value of the three words, Zman, time, and life, Chayim, and wisdom, Chokhmah, so the value is 238, and equals the archetypal soul of the Jewish mother, who is Rachel Imenu. So this is like a new angle of insight. What does Rachel Imenu have to do with time and life and wisdom? Time, we said actually last time we began to explain, it has to do with Malchut, with kingdom. As we say, Hashem Melech, God is king in the present. Hashem Malach, God was king in the past. Hashem Yimloch, God will be king in the future. So all of the times, the three times of the coordinate of time, all relate to Malchut, to kingdom. That's why very often in Kabbalah it says that time derives from kingdom. Above kingdom there's no time. Time begins with kingdom. And kingdom is Rachel in Kabbalah. So time and Rachel definitely go together. But now we have to explain how time and life and wisdom are all Rachel. So first let's see it in the three letters of Rachel herself. But this time we're going to devote to more linguistic and numerical calculations than we did last time. The name Rachel is also called the fourth leg or pillar of the divine chariot. The three patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, are the first three, and she completes the divine chariot. Very often, instead of Rachel, we say David, King David. But King David does not appear in the Pentateuch, in the 5 books of Moses. Rachel is that archetypal soul which corresponds to the fourth, completing pillar or leg or wheel of the chariot. What does it mean, chariot? It means the ability of the soul to be totally batel, totally null to the will of God, as though to carry God and carry God's will into the world, into reality. So her name, Rachel, Reish, Chet, Lamed, 3 letters. If the name has 3 letters, and we're now saying that she corresponds to these 3 concepts of time and life and wisdom, maybe there's a one-to-one correspondence. The letter Reish is the letter of wisdom, or of intelligence, or of consciousness in general, because Reish means head. The name of the letter Reish means head, or like Reshit, in the beginning. The beginning also implies time, but the word is head. The word Reshit is juxtaposed either with wisdom, like Reshit Chochma Yirat Hashem, the beginning of wisdom, the head of wisdom is the awe of Hashem, or a corresponding verse in both of them in Mishlei, in Proverbs, is Reshit Dat, the beginning of knowledge or consciousness in general. We know that there are 3 faculties of the mind, which are Chokhmah, Binah, Dat, wisdom, understanding, and Dat, and knowledge. And the word Reshit, the beginning, goes together with 2 of the 3 explicitly in the Tanakh, in the Bible, either Reshit Chokhmah or Reshit Dat. This is one of the readings of actually the first word of the Torah. The first word of the Torah is Reshit, in the beginning. And the very first letter is Bet, which is interpreted to mean its number, that Bet is 2. So Reshit means 2 Reshits. What are the 2 Reshits in the Torah? Reshit Chokhmah and Reshit Dat. We'll explain more why these 2 are the 2 Reshit, 2 idioms that appear explicitly in the Bible. So Reish is a letter of mind, or of head. The fact that it also implies beginning, which means beginning of time, already is a very, very clear relationship between head, between mind and time, just in the word itself. What about the second letter now of Rachel? The second letter is Chet. The meaning of the letter Chet is life. This is the most explicit of all. That the Chet of Rachel is life, is Chaya and Chaim. The third letter now, this is the Iker Chidush, the most obvious correspondence, the second. The most unobvious correspondence, but actually the most important for us, is the third, is the last letter of Rachel, which is the Lamed of Rachel. And now we're going to posit that the Lamed, the letter Lamed in Hebrew in general, is the letter of time. This can be the first thought and topic that we will try to expand upon right now. Lamed also has a sense of knowledge to it, or of intelligence to it, because Lamed means to teach, or to learn. So to teach or to learn obviously has to do with mind. What is the relationship between the letter Lamed now and time? First of all, the way the letter is used in the Hebrew language, Lamed is a li, which means, it's short for el, which means to, towards. It has to do with direction. Direction can be space, or a vector direction, which is a force direction. Also can imply or can symbolize the arrow of time. Mirz Hashem, as we're going to go on to explain in more depth, time is basically entropy. The way time is defined now in physics is the arrow of entropy. If we already said that, we'll say in short that there are 3 laws of thermodynamics. The first law is the conservation of energy. The second law is entropy, and the third law is absolute zero. So even these 3 laws of thermodynamics themselves can be seen to correspond to the 3 ideas that we're trying to combine now, which are time and life and wisdom. Last time we called these 3 things the 3 wonders of creation. The first law of thermodynamics, which is simply conservation of energy, can be summed up very simply that 1 + 1 = 2, or 1 - 1 = 0. But it's a law, it's a chidush. But I might think that 1 - 1 = 3. But it doesn't equal 3, it equals 0. It means if you have so much energy and you emit it or give it away, it's going to add on to some other field, and it's going to be taken away from you. And it's going to remain the total amount of energy in the universe, or in a closed system, will remain the same. So basically, the first law of thermodynamics is simply the very kernel of wisdom that 1 + 1 = 2, and it doesn't equal 3, it doesn't equal 4, and 1 - 1 = 0, and not something else. Simple. Something more simple about the beginning of wisdom, Reshit Chokhmah, than time. Time is the most elusive and the most enigmatic of all of them, because time is entropy. Of all the 3 laws of thermodynamics, the one which is the most difficult to comprehend is entropy. How entropy works in a closed system. And as we'll go on to see, it appears as though life, which is one of our 3 things, one of our 3 wonders, is actually the opposite of entropy. Schrödinger, one of the great physicists, himself said explicitly that life defies, negates entropy. He even called it nega or neg entropy, negative entropy. So we can also have another insight, that first we have time, and then time becomes life. So the transformation that's taking place is we'll call it the thesis becoming the antithesis. Because time is entropy and life is anti-entropy. What is the third law of thermodynamics? It's absolute zero. What is absolute zero? Things come to a stop. Everything stops. What is that? That's death. No movement. So from death we can understand that actually the third law of thermodynamics is the law of heat and the definition of heat. And does heat, basic energy is heat, does it have a boundary? And it has a lower limit. -273 centigrade. And at that lower limit, everything stops. Everything dies, nothing. Even time itself maybe dies, as we're going to began, one of the first thoughts that we had last time was, is there empty time, or is there zero time? Can time stop? So if all motion stops, and if a person holds by what we explained last time to be Aristotle's view of time, the time depends or is defined by motion. If motion stops, the time also stops. But then comes quantum mechanics and says that at the quantum level, even at absolute zero, there's a little motion that takes place. Meaning that there's a little life even in death. Does that idea appear in any place? Yes, it appears that even in death, there's a little measure, a small infinitesimal measure of life that continues. And because of that small infinitesimal measure of life, that is the basis of what will be ultimately, or in the future, the resurrection of the dead. Hevel de Galmi, or Kiste de Chayut, is two expressions for it in the Torah. So nowadays, the modern scientific way to say that is that even at absolute zero, at the quantum level, there is still motion. It means still a little bit alive. If there's a little motion, it can be revived. So what did we say now? We took the three laws of thermodynamics and also saw them to correspond to time. The basic is entropy, that's time. And we said that the concept of absolute zero and what it implies relates to life versus death. And the first one, which is seemingly the most obvious of all, is simply thinking straight, a straight head. But it's all because we're dealing with a closed system, that there's no new input or influx of energy. So the total amount of energy always remains the same. We do take it away and add. Yes, you either add or subtract. But the total is the same. That's the beginning of having a gleiche Kopf, a straight head, not a crooked head. Right, so now let's go back to Rachel. That we're saying that Rachel, the Lamed, corresponds to time. Why so? In the Torah, there's an idiom for the letter Lamed that there's no such similar idiom for any of the other letters of the alphabet. The idiom is that the letter Lamed is called Migdal HaPoreach Ba'avir, which means a flying tower, or alternatively a rocket ship, or a spaceship. One of the great Mekubalim, the Ben Ish Chai, actually says explicitly in his Perush that it's an aircraft. He says that the ancients knew about it, knew how to make it, but then at a certain point it became forgotten. Maybe at a certain point when time disappeared. As we'll try to explain. It means it's something that's suspended in midair, and it's hovering in midair, and it has nothing, Eno Amadi Smoch has nothing to support it, to hold it. Why is this idiom, how can we feel that this idiom has to do with the very basic fundamental concept of time? The time itself is this flying, eternally flying spaceship. Because, as we said last time, the most ephemeral phenomenon in reality is time. The sages use this expression for something which we cannot, something which is there in the air. It's here in the air, but it has nothing to hold it, to support it, meaning that we can't comprehend it, we can't understand it. Heter nedarim porchim ba'avir. That's the expression of Chazal, that to find in the Torah a source for the ability to nullify vowels is a state of reality which hovers in the air. What does that mean? It's just hovering in the air. We can't grasp it. We can't take hold of it. So this already is a very, very good way to philosophize about time. It's something which is just there, it's here, but it's suspended. But the concept of Migdal HaPorech Ba'avir, of this flying tower, in Kabbalah relates to the Sfirah of Binah. But it means that we, human beings, our understanding cannot grasp it. What is the pshat? Why do Chazal call this letter Lamed, the Migdal HaPorech Ba'avir? It's the only one of the 22 letters of the alphabet that ascends above the gag, the ceiling of the letters. There's one letter that descends below the bottom, the floor, the letter Kuf. And there's one letter that ascends above the roof of the letters, which is Lamed. When the letter Lamed is analyzed in what's called Sefer HaTmunah. There's a very early text of Kabbalah called the book of pictures, that every letter is a picture, and the picture represents something, symbolizes something. And it's all of the 22 letters are analyzed of the component, what are the components that make up the letter. Is it just a simple letter, like a Yud is a simple letter? It's not made up of other letters. Vav is a simple letter, but most of the letters are combined, or compound letters. The most important of which is the letter Lamed. The letter Lamed is a compound of 3 letters, a Yud and a Vav and a Kaf. At the very top of a rocket ship, we have a Yud. The Yud is way above the roof, the ceiling. Then from that Yud descends a Vav. And from that Vav descends a Kaf. So actually, we like to say that this is exactly the way we have a 3-stage rocket ship taking off. How does a rocket ship take off? How does it break through the gravity field of the Earth? First, it has to take a half cycle, a 180-degree cycle around the Earth before it reaches sufficient momentum, its velocity and momentum, to break out of the gravity of the Earth. This is exactly the way a rocket works. It goes one half, just like a cup, then it breaks out. That one half, one part of the rocket ship falls off. Then it leaves the gravity field, another on the second part. What remains, the cabin, the little cabin where the astronauts are sitting. That's the yud at the top of the lamed. A yud equals 10, the vav equals 6, and the kaf equals 20. So in the whole letter lamed equals 30. But it has a yud and a vav, which will combine them now, is 16, and it has a kaf, which is 20. What are those three words? What are those three numbers translated into words? Hoveh, haya, yiyeh. The whole letter lamed, 30 equals will be, yiyeh. The yud and the vav equals hoveh, is. And the kaf equals haya, was. So actually all the three parts of time are alluded to in the compound of the letter lamed. Haya, hoveh, this is what we're supposed to have in mind every time that we say Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Very often Kabbalah says that Yud Kei Vav Kei itself, if you want to translate or represent Yud Kei Vav Kei by just one letter of the alphabet, that letter is lamed. Why? Yud Kei Vav Kei is 26, it's not 30. But since it has 4 letters to it, Yud Kei Vav Kei, we can add those to the value of the 4 letters. And then Yud Kei Vav Kei itself, which is short for Haya, Hoveh, Yiyeh, was, is, and will be, itself equals 30, equals the letter lamed. So what's more, eternal, the eternal flow of time, which is obviously the deepest secret of creation, actually the force of creation, Shem Havaya, Hashem's essential name, has to do with time. And what does it mean? It means that time brings things into existence, exactly what we tried to explain last time. That all becoming comes and becomes from time, which is Shem Havaya. So this is the beginning of understanding that the letter lamed of Rachel, Rachel's lamed, is the secret of time. Last time when we talked about these 3 wonders of creation, we said that time is the most wondrous of all. And we said that its ultimate origin is in faith. We said that these three wonders have their origin, their roots in the 3 heads of the crown of the superconscious, which is faith and pleasure and will. We said that time is in faith and life is pleasure, and wisdom, the kernel of wisdom is in will. It's called the concealed brain within the will of Hashem. That's the term in Kabbalah. That's all in the crown. But we also said, as we just mentioned before, that the time is in Malchut. So actually it's either in Malchut, which is the lowest of the Sfirot, or it's in the head, the highest head of the crown. And that's the origin of Malchut. It says that the origin of Malchut is Ad Lo Yada, just how Purim is coming up. Reisha de Lo Yada V'Lo Yitela, the unknowable head, is the head of faith. That's the origin of Malchut in the crown. So actually what we're now going to see is that there is what is called a chotama mitapech, an inverted seal. That in the crown, time is the highest, and then comes life, and then comes wisdom. But that's counterintuitive, because I would think that wisdom is above, as we explained. At first there's time, and then time creates, as it were, life, and then wisdom. So wisdom is above. In our simple understanding, wisdom is the highest, above life, above time. If time is in Malchut, in kingdom, in Kabbalah, so life is either in the emotions of the heart, which is above Malchut, of which there are 6 in Kabbalah, the 6 Sfirot. But especially as explained in Kabbalah that Chaim, life, or Chai, is called Eber Chai, is in the Sfirah of Yesod. It's called Tzadik Chai, the living, righteous soul. Tzadik Chai is the Sfirah just above Malchut. Yesod, foundation. That's what life is. Even the word Chai, alive, if you take the 2 letters, Chet Yud, Chet times Yud equals Yesod, 80. 8 times 10. Whereas we said that wisdom, when we say wisdom now, we mean all of intelligence, all of consciousness. The third wonder of creation, that there is consciousness within reality. So that includes all of the three levels of the mind, all the 3 faculties of the mind, Chokhmah, Binah, and Dat, with a special emphasis on the first and the last, on the Reshit Chokhmah and the Reshit Dat, the beginning of wisdom and the beginning of Dat. In Pirkei Avot, in the Ethics of the Fathers, we find that whenever there's Dat, there's Binah. Dat and Binah go together. If you have Dat, you have Binah. If you have Binah, you have Dat. So if you have Reshit Dat, that includes also Binah, understanding. Actually, the Migdal HaPolech Ba'avir, its root is in understanding, as we said before. Now we're going to say something even deeper in Kabbalah. In the consciousness, the crown is the superconscious. So in the superconscious, time is the highest. And then comes life, and then comes mind. But in the conscious, it's called an inverted seal. It's the opposite. That mind is the highest, and then life, and then the lowest is time, which is Malchut. But actually in the conscious, it all begins from a level which in Kabbalah is called, now we'll say a term in Kabbalah, it's called Yesod Abba, the foundation of the father figure. The father figure is wisdom in general, but it's a whole persona, a whole parzuf. It possesses all the sfirot, and that which the power that wisdom has to also to create, to become, is its own foundation. The foundation, we know, is a word which corresponds or represents the procreative organ in the body. So if we picture wisdom as the father persona, Yesod Abba means the procreative power of that father persona, of all of the other powers of the soul. On the one hand, that level, which is called Yesod Abba, unites with Yesod Ima. So Ima is the foundation of the mother, which is the unification of father and mother to give birth. It all depends upon Yesod Abba. That's the power of the unification within the mind. When they become one, that itself is called Dat. Because it says, Ha'adam yadat chava ishto, that man Adam knew his wife Eve. In Kabbalah, that means the union of wisdom and understanding, which is itself a pu'ula, an action of Dat. So just in that union itself, we have all three of the faculties of the mind. But it's all through this particular power, which is called Yesod Abba. But then there's another saying in Kabbalah that reads, Yesod Abba Aroch Umistayem B'Yesod Zah. That Yesod, the foundation, which once more the foundation is the procreative power of the Father, is long, and it extends all the way to the procreative power of the small face. The small face is that persona which corresponds to the emotions of the heart, which is just what we said before. That's called Chai, the point of life, like the first cell of life. Yesod Abba Aroch is long and extends all the way to Yesod proper. If we think of the world of Atzilut, the world of emanation, the divine world, and all of its 10 powers, so it has its 10 powers, and the second last is Yesod. And that's the cell of life. But that itself is because the Yesod Abba extends all the way down to there, and that creates or becomes life. But then there's another saying, which is actually a verse in Proverbs, in the beginning of Proverbs, that says, Hashem b'chokhmah yasar aretz, that God, within, or using, as it were, wisdom, gave foundation to the earth. In Aramaic, it's translated in the Zohar to read Abba Yasad Brata, that the father founds the daughter. And the daughter is Malchut. The daughter is time. Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimloch L'olam V'ed. And it's also an extension of Yesod Abba. Why are we now talking about Yesod Abba? Because it has to do with Purim. The holiday that we're now approaching is Purim. It says that Mordechai HaYehudi is the personification in the Tanakh of Yesod Abba. Just a very special phenomenon about Yesod Abba that takes place in his generation, in his person. That not only does Yesod Abba, but Yesod Abba is Mordechai. Mordechai HaYehudi, the hero of Purim. Not only in Purim does he unite with the companion power of understanding of Mother, which together is Dad. Not only does he descend, because he's long, does he descend to the life of foundation per se, proper, which is the Yesod of Atzilut. And not only does he found the Yesod of the Nukva, the foundation of the feminine daughter figure, which is time, but on Purim, the miracle of Purim, the way the Arizal explains, is that Yesod Abba even extends out of the time, of the origin of time in the world of Atzilut, the world of emanation, in which there's only exclusively consciousness of one, of the Divine One, but it passes through time and enters the lower worlds, which are below the origin of time in Atzilut, and because it now, for the first time in history, is revealing itself in the lower worlds, that's what results in the miracle of Purim. Right? So these are obviously very, very deep concepts. But what we're talking now about has to do with Purim. We're now saying that all of these things derive, all of our wonders of creation, at the level of the consciousness, the conscious dimension of the divine world, which means consciousness of God's absolute unity. It's all related to this concept, Yesod Abba, the procreative power of wisdom. So how much does that term equal? Yesod, we said before, is 80. Abba is just for us, Aleph, Bet, Aleph. If we're mentioning Abba, let's now say something else, a very beautiful, simple thing about the Hebrew language. What is the first thing that a child says when he begins to speak? First syllable that he says. He says Abba, which is simply Ab. If he says that, what's the first sentence that he usually says? A kid will say, Ababa, which means that Daddy is coming. Ababa, Hine Ababa. What's Ababa? It's just the reverse of the two letters, Aleph, Bet. It's the first two letters of the alphabet. It's the way the Hebrew alphabet begins. This a simple, beautiful phenomenon that the Hebrew begins with Father, Aleph, Bet. It's called the first sha'ar, the first gate of the 231 gates of the Hebrew language is Ab, Aleph, Bet, which is Father. And every sha'ar can be entered in two ways. Every gate, you can go either in or out. So if you're going in one direction, it's Aleph, Bet. If you're going the other direction, it's Bet, Aleph. And Bet, Aleph is come. So what does that imply? It implies just what we're trying to say, that things come and become. Last time we explained that everything becomes ultimately from time. But now we're doing it the reverse way. That at the level of consciousness, everything comes and becomes from our Father, from the Father figure, and in particular from His procreative power, His Yesod, Abba. So how much is now Yesod Abba? Abba is 4. Whereas the word Abba, Abba is actually Aramaic. In Hebrew it's just simply Av. But everybody says Abba. Nobody calls his father Daddy Av. Just Abba. Because actually Abba itself is Abba. The Daddy's coming. We want Daddy to come. How much is Yesod Abba? Yesod is Pei. Pei is 80. And Abba is 4. So it's Pei David, 84. 84, maybe many people here will immediately associate that Pei David, which is what is called in Kabbalah Tikkun HaBrit, the rectification of the covenant. Also of each of our procreative power. That if someone has done has blemished in any way his procreative power, so in Kabbalah actually you're supposed to fast 84 days. Nowadays we do it without fasting, but we still have to rectify a secret in Kabbalah which is called the secret of Pei Dalet of 84, which 84 is Yesod Abba. What happens if I add Yesod Abba to Mordechai? And the Arizal says that Mordechai himself is Yesod Abba. How much do they equal together, Mordechai plus Yesod Abba? Mordechai is 274 and Yesod Abba is 84. 274 plus 84 equals 358. What is that? Mashiach. So this is a messianic kavanah, intention to have on Purim and in our preparation for Purim, that Mordechai and Yesod Abba, is there somebody in the Tanakh that we know that he equals 84? A very important person in in the Tanakh that equals 84 also has to do with the relation between father and child, between parent and child. There's someone whose name, if it's punctuated otherwise, vocalized otherwise, is the same letters of the word education. How do you say education in Hebrew? Chinuch. Slight variation of the vowels, it's Chanuch. Chanuch is Enoch, the seventh generation from a very, very important soul. He's the mentor, the spiritual mentor of Moshe Rabbeinu. And he also, Chanuch, is Yesod Abba. Yesod Abba is the procreative power within wisdom, and it's also this particular soul, Chanuch, and meaning that Chanuch himself is now Mordechai Ayehudi, and together they equal Mashiach. All right. So actually what we said now is that our three wonders of creation at the conscious level are actually five sfirot, because the wisdom and the understanding and the knowledge all go together. The first pu'ula, the first act of Yesod Abba is to manifest the three powers of the mind. How much do they equal? Chokhmah Binah Dat is important for everybody. So Chabadnik. If you happen to be a Chabadnik, so the first Gematria is how much does Chabad equal? Chabad is wisdom, understanding, and Dat. It equals 614. So just write down that number, 614. Then we said that the second level is from wisdom to Yesod, to foundation, which is the point we called it just before this, the initial cell of life. That's another 80. So how much is that? 614 plus 80. 694. That's already Shneur Zalman, the first Rebbe of Chabad. But now the Ikar is that we have to add it to Malchut, because Malchut is time, and that's called Yesod Abba. That's Abba Yasad Brata, that the father is the foundation of the daughter, of the earth. So let's add it. Malchut is 496. 694 and 496. How much is that? All right, we have 5 different sfirot, which all together, we have the first 3 mental sfirot, intellectual sfirot, and the last 2. Chokhmah Binah Dat, Yesod Malchut. It's very symmetric, these 5 sfirot that we've picked out of the 10. They all together equal 1190. Since there are 5, let's divide. See, obviously it has a 0 at the end, so it can be divided by 5, divisible by 5. It's 5 times what?
238.
What's 238? It's 5 times Rachel. Meaning the average value of these 5 sfirot, the average value is Rachel herself. Up until now, I just thought that Rachel once more was Malchut, was purely the feminine dimension of Malchut. But now I see that Rachel is the common denominator of all of the 3 faculties of the mind, plus the lower union of Yesod and Malchut, which is Chai and Zman, and time. Life and time. Living time. It's all Rachel. Now let's go back to to our phrase that we said the time corresponds in particular to the letter Lamed of Rachel, but that letter Lamed in Chazal is referred to as Migdal HaPorech Ba'avir. Let's write that term in Hebrew on the board. Migdal HaPorech Ba'avir. What are the final letters written backwards? Rachel. What does it all equal together? Migdal HaPorech Ba'avir. The whole thing. Migdal 77. HaPoreach is 299. Ba'avir is 219. It equals 595. The final letters spell Rachel, Rachel. What are the others? 357. Is there a relation between 357 and 238, which is Rachel? How much is... It's Rachel and a half. So actually, Migdal Porech Ba'avir is 2.5 Rachels. So if I have, there's a verse that reads, Hayei Soferet HaMigdalim. You have to count the towers. Where is that? Where means that it's something which is mysterious. Where is that soul that is counting the towers? Hayei Soferet HaMigdalim, it says. It says Migdalim, two Migdal HaPorech Ba'avir. How much is 595 times 2? 5 times Rachel. So this phrase, this very important phrase, Migdal HaPorech Ba'avir, itself is 2.5 times Rachel, but if it's double, it's already 5 times Rachel. Does anybody know, maybe some of our close Talmidim, what else that number 1190 equals in addition to the 5 Sfirot, Chokhmah, Binah, Dat, Yesod, Malchut? It equals perhaps the most important verse in the whole Bible, in the whole Tanakh, that refers to the Mashiach. Hinei yaskil avdi yarum b'nisan v'gava ma'od. Hinei, my servant, my slave, the Mashiach, as he's referred to in the Torah and the Tanakh and Isaiah, will become wise, intelligent, which also means that he will succeed. In Hebrew, intelligence and success are related. Yarum, he will rise up, v'nisan, be elevated, be exalted, v'gavan, be elevated, be high, very high. Rise, exalted, high, very high. First, intelligence. Intelligence, 5 different levels of elevation. That whole verse, which is called the 5 elevations of the Mashiach, equals exactly that same number. Meaning that the 5 elevations of the Mashiach are 5 elevations of Rachel, of Rachel. What's another way of saying Rachel in Kabbalah? Which is the 4th level of the Merkabah. Rachel can be called the Shekhinah, the divine presence, which means the revelation especially of divine providence in our lives. Rachel can either be called Malchut, kingdom, or she is called the Shekhinah, the divine presence, or what else is she called? She's called Knesset Yisrael, the collective soul of Israel, the congregation of Israel. Everything we're saying about Rachel now, which has to do with all of the wonders of creation, which begin with time, the real wonder of creation is Knesset Yisrael, the presence, the divine presence, which is the presence of the collective Jewish soul in the world. As we said last time, nature and the world has its wonder to it and has its nature to it. It's relative. Whatever is a wonder has a corresponding nature. But if life is a wonder, so inanimate existence is nature. If consciousness is a wonder, so unconsciousness is nature. As far as time, it's more difficult to understand. If time is a wonder, so perhaps space is nature. This is what we explained last time. But once more, as far as soul, the real wonder of the world is the collective Jewish soul, which is the divine presence, which is the congregation of Israel. And it is manifest in the Mashiach, who has his 5 elevations, which are 5 times Rachel, which correspond to these 5 sfirot of the 10 sfirot, the 3 sfirot of the mind and the Yisod and Malchut, and actually the 2 flying towers. And it's all the same thing. And in our flying tower, Migdal Porech Ba'avir, so once more the final letter spell. You can have no question, no doubt in your mind that the flying tower has to do with Rachel, because her name is right there. So now we can understand why our 3rd father, patriarch, Jacob, was called Bechir Shebahavot, the choice of the 3 fathers, fell in love at first sight with Rachel. There's no question about it. Why she was Yefat Torah, Yefat Mareh? Because she represents much more the wonder. The wonder is also the beauty of creation, which has all these 3 levels to it, of time and life and wisdom. We'll conclude now with one more thing about Purim. One of the things we talked about last time was is there empty time? First idea that we contemplated. Instead of empty time, let's say another phrase which is similar: missing time. As soon as you say that term, missing time, so what comes to mind? What is missing time? Is there any missing time? Missing time is 167 years between the year that secular historians give for the destruction of the first temple versus the year that our sages give for that very same event. There are slight variations, but in general, if you open up a history book, a secular history book, you will see that Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the first temple in the year 587 BCE. But if you look in Seder Olam, which is the Jewish history book, so there's a tremendous discrepancy, which is called mind-blowing. How can there be such a discrepancy? The first temple was destroyed in 420 BCE. There are, just it's important to know that there are modern scholars that are trying to justify, if this is important for people to know, that have questions, and this question is something which has to do also with, say, questions about the age of the universe. A question which concerns many, many people, especially in Balei Tshuva. So this is a similar question. How can it be that the secular historians say that the 587 and the sages say 420? Missing time. Where did it go? The Arizal says that Mordechai, one of his reincarnations, is Choni HaMa'agel, who slept for 70 years. You can't sleep for 70 years. What happened? This has to do with Mordechai. So in some texts it says that those 70 years are actually the 70 years of the Galut, of the exile, the Babylonian exile, between the two temples. But in any event, those 70 years that he slept, for him at least, is just missing time. Time disappeared. Other people were in time, and he was out of time for 70 years. Then he woke up, and he found a world that he couldn't jive with this world. So he said, either friends that I can relate to, or better to reach absolute zero. That's what he did at the end. This is a Gilgula, one of the basic reincarnations of Mordechai HaYehudi, of the hero of Purim. How many verses are there in the Megillah? Whoever's not going to read the Megillah Esther, it's important to know how many verses. 167. So maybe the 167 verses are the 167 missing years. Where are the missing years? And where is the discrepancy between this? First of all, it's very important to know that the secular Persia, so just stories that they picked up. There are no documents, there are no original Persian documents or Babylonian documents that support the dating of Herodotus, who's called the father of history, was a Greek that just based himself on stories. Nonetheless, we're not here now to say that the secular historians are wrong, because that's not the way we do it. We're here to laugh at the fact that there are these 167 missing years, because that's now the chush, the sense of Atah and Purim is to laugh at things. To laugh at things is to smile at things which are so deep that it's not always possible to explain them in words. Nonetheless, we do try to explain as much as we can possibly explain. What are these? Where's the problem with these 167 years? The problem is in the Persian Empire, not in the Babylonian Empire. Because according to the secular historians, there are 10 Persian kings. But according to Chazal, 10 Persian kings that reigned for 208 years. But according to the sages, there are just 4 Persian kings that ruled for 52 years altogether. The whole Persian Empire, according to the sages, transversed 52 years. According to secular history, 208 years. 4 times as much, 1 to 4, from Eliyahu to Yitzchak. There's something about the Persian Empire that has to do with missing time. What is that for people that know once more that dip a little bit into modern science? What is that? 10 Persian kings, but we only know of 4, and there are 6 missing ones. So it sounds to me like string theory. The 10 dimensions, we only recognize 4, and there are 6 that disappeared. What happens when you reach the edge of a black hole, which is called the event horizon? A black hole has three levels to it. It has its edge, which is called the event horizon. It has its body, the bulk of the black hole, which the radius from the event horizon to the center, which is called the singularity point, is called the Schwarzschild radius, and it has its singularity. What exactly happens inside the black hole, the physicists do not know. But there are different theories and speculations. When our spaceship, which is time, approaches the black hole, the closer it comes to the event horizon, time begins to slow down for the observer. Slows down. For the observer, the spaceship will never enter the black hole. Because the closer it comes, time will be slower and slower and slower until it just takes infinite time. Or actually, no time, time stops from the perspective of the observer. Would our spaceship reach the singularity of the black hole? So there it's clear, everybody agrees that there's no time and no space. It's infinite density, no time, no space in the singularity. What about in the middle? These 3 levels of the black hole correspond to the 3 levels of emet, of truth, that we discussed several times before. The event horizon is called Sfat Emet. It's the lip, or the periphery of the black hole. But then there's the hole itself, and there's the Schwarzschild radius. That's emet. But then there's the singularity. The singularity is emet la'amito. There's no time and space. That's clear. The event horizon, there's no time from the perspective of the observer. What about in between? So once more, nobody knows, but there are different theories. One theory which is very nice for us, this is a recent theory, is that time and space transform into one another. Time becomes space and space becomes time. That's great. And then you reach the singularity and there's nothing. No time and no space. Just infinite mass and infinite density in one point. So this is like Sfat Emet. What are we trying to say here? Just like a black hole sucks up everything that enters it and sucks up information. But Hawking tried to revive the information by, just like the phenomenon we said before, that even in death there is still a little life. If there's a little life, information can be revived. But there's something about a black hole that sucks up information, or sucks up reality. What was his problem? If information is lost totally, so that means that the universe cannot be deterministic. That was his problem, or is his problem. And he as a scientist wants determinism. But if information is lost in a black hole, so no more determinism. If there's no more determinism, what is there? There's free choice. It's choosing the future. We still have a lot to say about our lamed, and it's going back to the secret of the tselem. The lamed that we talked about today is the lamed of the tselem that we talked about last time. We're not going to now have time to explain it more. But once more, the final idea is that there is such a thing as time itself disappearing. Because time can appear and time can disappear. Even the very concept of time in Kabbalah is defined by an expression which is called mati velo mati, which means coming and disappearing. Sounds like the Mashiach, that the Mashiach appears and disappears. Nigleh v'nichseh v'nigleh. But that's a phrase which has to do with time. The time becomes and disappears. There's something about time that you can lose time. Like Choni HaMa'ageh, you sleep for 70 years. Mordechai HaYehudi. It disappeared. So there's something about this, much more. The story of Purim is the story of the Persian Empire. The secret of the Persian Empire. And just we lose 167 years of time. It just gets swallowed up into some black hole of time. But maybe that goes also for 13.8 billion years since the Big Bang. Maybe that time also can be swallowed up. Just if you have a big enough mouth, maybe you can swallow it up. And then we have no problem about the age of the universe. So actually, there are three ways to solve the problem of the age of the universe. Maybe we'll leave this for next time. In any event, this was all a preparation for Ad Lo Yada, to reach a level of knowing nothing and Purim, and that's where the redemption comes from.
Yeah. So actually, I was going to say, if the missing years is the secret of Persia, so we could say that the secret of getting to Ad Lo Yada is the secret of entering into the space of missing time. And if you really get to Ad Lo Yada, that's the secret of entering into the black hole. That is the black hole. And you wouldn't even know it because you're Ad Lo Yada. Okay. Okay, a bunch of announcements at the end. Again, this shiur is for an Aliyat Neshama for Alta Necha Bat Chaim Nota. Also for Raphael Michael Yitzchak Ben Vega. Thank you. And a refuah shlema for Shoshana Bat Sophie Bat Rezel. She should have a refuah shlema. Okay, very, very important. Everyone here, the next shiur is on April 7th, Bet Nisan, but it will not be happening here. To be announced. So when you get the announcements about the shiur, pay attention. Don't come here. check the Facebook, check the Inner.org, whatever. Efesh Shalosh. Regular. Tesha. Say it louder. Can you say it louder?
03 960 7117. 7117.
Okay. Also, very quickly, all of the books you find on the tables around Shivim Panim, people are welcome to take it. And you can take more than one, you can take 5, you can take as many as you want for family and friends. I would love to leave here with an empty suitcase. Please take them and distribute them. Also, Right. This is in the spirit of Mishloach Manot. You can include them in your Mishloach Manot. Why not? Okay, Pesach is coming. Sodot Min HaSeder. It's on the back table. It's really, really, really Kedai. It is really Kedai. Again, Wandering Jew is now available. It wasn't available for a long time. Wandering Jew, also on the back table here. And for people in Chutz La'aretz, so of course you can get all of these online. And the 3 books on science. The Breath of Life, 137, The Riddle of Creation, and Wisdom Integrating Torah and Science. You want to do it again or just announce it? Okay, one last time for people in the greater New York and Toronto area. In 2 weeks, the Rav, March 17th, for a whole week, the Rav will be in the New York area. Go to the Galei Night Facebook page, go to Beta, and get information. And the same thing for Toronto from the 24th through the 27th. Lots of events. Take advantage.
Happy Purim.
Happy Purim. Ma'ariv in 2 minutes.